We are now recording.
Welcome, world,
Welcome. Welcome, world.
to our zone.
This is, yeah, a fragile zone, I think it is. But
A fragile zone, indeed.
the child, is it child friendly?
I'd like to think it is, or hopefully it will be, or let's just go with the flow and see how friendly we are.
Absolutely. So we're going to take the opportunity to discuss a word, improvise on a word each week.
Well, I think we should introduce the name of our program. This program we're starting with the word fragile, but it could be outside in, and any other terminology that sort of describes those of you out there, as we are indeed within that category, who maybe feel a little bit like you're looking from the outside in, a bit removed from society for various reasons. Um, Zach, why don't you explain the work you're doing and I'll explain mine
Okay.
afterwards, and then we can give more information.
Well, I'm in my real life. I'm a speaker and a trainer for people with to champion people with mental health problems, and I come at it from a different perspective in that I use pop culture to open up our emotions, things like movies and music. I also perform and I also like to explore our emotions from a sort of surreal aspect. And this is part of where we are with this today. Um, that's a brief part of what I do. I'm based in the UK, in Kent. I'll hand over now to Mark on that side of the screen to Mark.
Hi, thank you, Zach. My name's Mark. I'm currently located in Budapest, a city that I lived in for quite some years. After 2 years of being locked in and locked down with my parents, two people that I spent many years of my life running away from, and found myself joyously locked in with them. But we did our best and we survived it. The minute the opportunity presented itself, I was on a plane. The reason being, is I have a daughter over here, so that's my reason for being in Budapest. My thing is writing. I write and I do improv, and a lot of expressive things, such as writing music and a little bit of performance, but predominantly I create expressions that are around my philosophy, which is the reconnection philosophy. And what is that? That is the idea of becoming closer to our authentic nature rather than living this persona that we've adapted to in life. And my outlook or my perspective is that the closer we become to our authentic nature, the closer we are to being who we really are, and therefore the better we are in terms of our interactions with the world. A lot of people find themselves living in what we call the comfort zone, locked away behind TV, eating food, gambling, whatever it happens to be, to escape, their immediate life, which is a crime because we only go around once. And I think to really enjoy our lives, we should be as close to our authentic self as possible. And on the basis of that, I have done quite a bit of expressive and creative work to help and support people. To do that, I've had my own experience, and that's why I'm doing it. So I want to share it with others. And Zach and I have commonality in the sense that we both tend to look at life in that perspective, which does, of course, cause issues in terms of getting there. But once you're there, it's the place to be.
Absolutely.
Um,
I've just realized something as I was sitting listening to you that you're so much better at an introduction than I am. So
well, well, let's see. We've only just started this.
we have absolutely
Only just started.
we have. But so
So,
That's us.
Yeah, that's us.
That's us. Yes. Bye bye.
I think what we were trying to do, and the reason we did this, we've very recently been introduced to each other, and we thought we've got a lot of commonalities, and it would be a great idea to share our life experiences and insights. But at the same time, reach out to you out there to see whether any of you can resonate with it, connect with it, and share your experiences. And we will open up the the floor, so to speak, for guests, interviews, and we will also share our favourite music and ideas and films around a theme. Today's theme is primarily introductions because we've just started this.
It is. That's right. So we chose introduction for this one. Um, yeah, it's very strange. This is a bit like Celebrity Squares. It's quite interesting.
Living in a box.
Living in a box, which is where we all find ourselves to be sometimes, until you decide to break yourself out of it, which is pretty much what the two of us have done. And we encourage you all to do the same thing. Really, it doesn't mean you have to do anything drastic in your life, but it is a case of waking up and introducing yourself, as Mark said, to your inner person, the inner child, the person who dreams of things. So we're talking about introduction this week. This is a unique show, program, event in that it could last 5 minutes, it could last 5 hours.
Zach, I have
Yes.
a point I want to throw over to you. Why don't you introduce an example of when you started to get an idea of what you should be doing rather than what you were doing?
Oh, when I sort of realized, when when I was younger, I was thinking about this the other day, actually, funnily enough. I went through a stage of feeling like I wasn't fitting in to anything. I was a bit of an outsider at school. I remember my mum saying to me when I was naughty that she said, "I'm going to stop sending you to your bedroom now because I know that's where you prefer going to." So I had to actually sit and talk to people as punishment, which is not. I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. So I was always much happier being in my own world, really. But then you've got to go to work, and I went to work in a theatre, and that was such a lovely experience because it was you're in the dark all day. You don't know whether it's day or night when you work in that world.
Yeah.
And
Land of escape.
it is really, yeah. The place goes blue or green or red, and that's how magical it can be. But a lot of my friends, funnily enough, I don't see anymore, went and worked in normal jobs. So I felt that that's what I should do at this stage of my life at 20 something years old. So I went and got a normal job being 9 to 5, and then sitting watching telly in the evening. And it's not for me. I realize it's not for me, but I went through a whole lifetime doing that and trying to do other bits and pieces, trying to keep my creative energy going and imagination going. But once you're out of it, it's like the sort of, you're in this sealed environment. But the job wise, they were nice jobs and I met some nice people, but I didn't feel that I was fulfilled within. So I started writing, and then I joined acting groups. I've written some books, and the sort of momentum from that has led me to a place where I'm now free because I'm working for myself. And I'm enjoying that. I really enjoy that. My bank manager doesn't enjoy it so much, but I really enjoy it. So I'm going to keep it going and keep this momentum going for as long as possible. And I suppose the just to build on that a little bit, when I was in that place of in the employment, that's when my depression really hit, and when I really sunk to a low. Um, and since then, and it took years to come out of it and to start learning or relearning who I was. It took an awful long time, and it's not easy. But since then, I've been getting these messages, sort of describing to me what that was, and it was one thing I read was that depression. I mean, it's different for all everybody, but sometimes it's a warning or a message from your inner self to say you're in the wrong place. You're not being the character you should be being. This isn't what you were put on the earth for or in the universe for. You're playing the role of somebody else, and it grinds you down. So I found that quite interesting because it really resonated with me, and that's sort of twisted it around for so I could take that step to start being the person that I want to be. And now I'm sharing my story, which is why I've written the books and do the videos and do the workshops. So that's an introduction. I mean, we'll learn more as we go through these thousands of episodes that we're going to go through. That the thing is, every time a word is mentioned, it triggers a memory in your head, and then or triggers something, and then you can evolve it from there. And I'm sure that's what's going to happen with these. But that's my introduction from where I was to where I am now, very briefly. Obviously, that spanned 25 odd years. So I will hand over to Mark. Do something similar.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of similarities. It's very interesting what you were saying about suddenly realizing how far away from yourself you became. And that's a lot of the work I'm doing, which is where we have a lot of commonality. I would say that my story was also very similar because from as far back as I remember, I always, and I had a brother, I would, I would be in my own space. And anyone who broke that space was, stepping into my inner world, which I really didn't want at all. And I became I think, quite separated from the family unit, only when I had to be there. And went further and further into my world of dreams, which actually was great because it really lifted me up. The things that connected with me were sport, but mostly music. Music really did, like I think most kids, it really had an impact on me. But I think the thing for me was that I was missing a very important ingredient, which I only discovered later on in life, and that was confidence and belief. Because I had the image of my world very clearly painted out. One of the things that I kind of found almost embarrassing to retell was that I would pick up a guitar, an air guitar, and I would be, the meanest guitar player that's been sort of known to man while I was sort of strutting my stuff, on the stage at Wembley, with the music going on in the back. I mean, I had the whole picture painted, but didn't have the belief, the confidence, or even the nurture or support to learn the damn thing. So my whole world was in my head, and it continued to be that way because that was the only way I could be happy, without going on to heavier things, as it were. And that's how I lived a good proportion of my life until one day I remember I was like you, Zach. I went into the world of work, and most of the time, as you said, I met nice people. It was fine, but once you get into that world, breaking out of it is another thing because all of a sudden you can't support yourself. Rather than being true to your nature when you're young and just going for it at whatever cost and following the path, we end up living this kind of pseudo life that we get used to. And if someone moves it away from us, then we're like, and now?
Mm. Yeah.
But I do remember meeting a group of friends after work one evening, and I was doing a really nice job. I was, working in publishing. I was in London. I, had a great life in that regard, but it was missing something. And I remember meeting a group of friends after work, and we were having a few drinks and a chat and everything. One of them said, "Oh yeah, well I'm a comedian. I do stand up." Another one was saying, "Yeah, well I work at a theatre group," and someone else. I was just thinking, like, these guys are following their passion, and they're irrespective of the outcome. They're doing it. It must be hard, but they must feel good about themselves. And I'm living this kind of pseudo life, and it would nag at me, it would eat at me that I wasn't allowing my nature to come out. And that was the first sign. Followed later by life, as I got higher and higher up the ladder and was earning more and more money, which was just kind of a thing, it led to more anxiety, neurosis, and emotional breakdown at the end. This was what it all was building up, because I was a million miles away from my truth. And just to round up, the craziness of it all is when I was sitting in this sort of office with all the, the trimmings and, it was fine. I remember walking trance-like to my apartment, another nice sort of setup, sitting there, and I could feel tears coming down my eyes, that I was just a million miles away from who I really was, and what kind of, nonsense was this I was living. Several weeks later, I found myself, without any warning, writing like a madman. And it was like some kind of bizarre, surreal film. I was like wandering around in my dressing gown, writing like and slowly but surely, this was what I should have been doing all those years. So the truth comes out. It comes out.
It does, absolutely.
And that's my spiel for the, for the end of that one.
Brilliant. Well, it is very true. I think one of the key things from the both of us, the word is belief, isn't it? Because when you're younger, you're, regardless of how you did at school or whatever, when you're at an age where you believe anything is possible, but that is sort of like it's dragged out of you as you sort of get through the senior years of school, further education, then work. It felt like, well, certainly for me, it feels like that belief, and then, as you say, you go into that the vacuum of the 9 to 5 working idea model, and you sort of, that belief you had is sort of sucked out of you in a way, because your commitment should only be to one thing, and that should be to the progress of whoever it is you're working for. Whereas actually it should be to yourself. And if we have found our belief again, in that sense, but it takes an awful lot, because you need belief in order to have the confidence to then move forward.
And the confidence comes from the realization of an ability or a skill or a very strong desire to do something. And I think we all had the desire and the interest to do something. We didn't have the belief or the foundations to follow that through. And I think that's the thing. And I think from what you've said, you are starting to do that, as am I, now, later in life. But I think it would be good to help people, or at least share some insights with those who are aware of this and want to do something about it. So I think with that in mind, unless you have anything else to add, Zach, I think we should
we could call it there. I think belief would be a good word to use in the future for another episode.
For sure.
I've written that one down on the.
And we can, when we go through this on a periodical basis, we're shaping this as we go along. It's very much an organic experience. But I think what we both like to do is use our stories as some kind of support, but engage with and listen to what anyone who's listening out there would like to share with us. And we can use it as a kind of forum to, to communicate.
Yeah, please comment or I mean, if this is on YouTube, then you comment in YouTube if anyone is there. You can go to our Facebook pages. I mean, you know, we're friendly people. We won't deny you. So feel free to comment and share. And as yeah, I completely echo what Mark says. That we're, you know, if we can help anybody with our own experiences to try and find their true selves, then I think we've done a blooming good job if we've done that.
Right. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, and we will be doing this regularly. We'll find our own rhythm path and as we go along. And one last thing to say, we've come up with a couple of ideas for names for this. One is fragile, and the other one is outside looking in or outside in. Or we even had, what was the other one we had?
Lifting the lid was another
Lifting
one.
the lid. Yeah, I like that one. But if you've got a suggestion which is printable, then please let us know. We'd love to consider all of these options and start giving it a proper title
Yeah,
and a format. But this is just like a launch today. So welcome and hope to see you very soon.
absolutely. Cheerio.